Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom Bus channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today I am just happy to be back on the mic. Y'all don't understand. I was not even battling, I don't know, it was just a normal type cold, but for some reason these coughs have been getting me, and I'm not fully 100%, but these coughs have been getting me. Whenever I get sick, the coughs tend to linger, and they're just constant. Sometimes they get violent at night when you lay down. You know, the airways are different. So what was bad about it is that I was a part of our commencement ceremony, 2 ceremonies, and I was reading names. So I was asked to do that, and I was excited, nervous to do that, and then I got sick, and so it just turned really bad. Like, I think I probably would have lost my voice in a normal circumstance, but reading over 300 some names pretty quickly with the cough and everything, it took my voice. I'm just now getting my voice back. The cough is just now starting to stop. So I had recorded, or at least started to record, a couple episodes around that time when I got sick, but I couldn't make it through it. So it's just nice to be back on the mic. So I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, man, but I'm going to break it up. I want to do one long episode, but I'm going to break it up. Now, I don't get paid by YouTube at all, 0 cents. It's all for fun. So I don't have to break it up, but I figured I'd do that. I'm sure the views would be different if I break it up, but that don't really mean nothing because I don't get money. But anyway, I did my little errands for the day, and it's about to start raining, so I'm in the house, so I'm taking a sip, and I just want to chop it up, man. I just want to talk. It's going to be full, kind of a loose flowing type situation, but I got the topics I'm going to talk about. Obviously, if you sent in topics to talk about prior, because I wanted to do this before I started writing, and that's a whole nother situation that y'all don't even want to hear about. That's annoying me. But I can't finish writing today due to other circumstances. So I'm on the mic, and I got some questions from some subscribers, and I'm gonna answer them because I was supposed to do that, but then I got sick, so unfortunately I didn't do that. But I'm gonna answer those, and we're gonna just talk Bears stuff, and then videos are gonna be coming out after this where I talk about just stuff going on in our society, all this fun weird stuff with 2024. So before I get to the questions, I'm gonna talk about Caleb Williams. We got Caleb Williams in rookie camp. It's just life, and I'm not gonna touch on the Diddy stuff, but it's very similar conceptually to that Ray Rice, where it's just like you could know something, but till you see it, that's when people get weird. And so weird segue, but at the same time to say, we knew we had Caleb Williams, we knew what he was, but now that people see him in the Bears uniform, they see him throwing passes, first to the rookies, now to the vets. Now it's starting to become real. It's starting to become tangible, in the words of John Campia, one of my favorite YouTubers. So people are starting to get hyped, and for me, I'm definitely hyped, but I was hyped before. I already knew all this, and so but that's social media's job, is to hype you up. So that's cool. Going into it, I already talked about the team. I already talked about my expectations. We had the schedule release, and look, there's some value in the sequence of a schedule in terms of primetime games, short turnaround, overseas, all that. I get that. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be more important than the opponents. And as I always say, who you play matters. So for me, I made my predictions and I made my discussion based off our opponents. We already knew who our opponents were going to be, home and away. And so we got the schedule. So now people are again, it's becoming more tangible. So people are talking about it. But for me, I already gave you my expectations for the team based on who we're playing. Now the Jags, that's a game that I said 50-50. Technically we're at home, but we're overseas. So we're not at home. Technically they at home. And so that changes slightly, but it doesn't change my overall thoughts about the Bears and what we should do this season. So I'm not going to go over that. You could check that out in the previous episodes. Now, I'll say my expectations for Caleb. And again, I'm shooting off kind of the hip right now, but I feel pretty comfortable with it. Because a lot of people are going to talk about what is a successful season for Caleb. Trust me, as we get closer to the season, that's going to become more of a topic. And it's been a topic with some people. For me, it starts with the team. I don't care if Caleb broke every passing record and became MVP and we didn't make playoffs. That don't matter. So it starts with the team, if I'm answering that question. And I already talked about the team. 10 wins, making the playoffs. That's successful. But when we're talking about individually, and again, how you do it matters more than what you do. And so if we're winning games and all that, and these stats aren't what I expected, that's one thing. So we got to evaluate that once we get there. But just on the plain surface, for me, I do got some metrics in mind. Number one, I think 400 yards rushing. And there's a number of things I'm looking at, but I would say for the most part, I'm looking at Justin Fields and I'm looking at Geno Smith. There are other quarterbacks too, but I'm looking at them from last year. Obviously, Fields kind of what we had before in his ability. But on top of that, Geno, where our offensive coordinator was, and a system that's more balanced where he does not have Justin Fields' capability, because you would like to believe Justin Fields or Caleb is a middle ground between the Justin Fields and the Geno Smith, where he's not as athletic as Justin, but he's more athletic than Geno. He's a better passer than Justin naturally, and we'll see if he can be as efficient as Geno. So that's two main points, but not the end all be all. So 400 yards, I don't think, anything close to 1,000, because then you running too much. Either we design you to run or you just scrambling for your life. That's too much. 500, you get towards the area of a Josh Allen and all that, where he's not the main running. Well, I wouldn't say he doesn't run all the time, but he is kind of the main running threat. And we don't want that either. With the money we put into Swift and the system, you expect a more balanced attack. And so Russell Wilson's another guy that I think of. Even, he didn't play in Seattle, but that's just kind of his game. And he was around 300 something. So again, I think 400 yards rushing is where about I'm looking. As far as passing, I would say 3,300. Now, 3,000 is right around a Russ Wilson. Again, a lot of limitations there this year. But we know our records aren't that big, so a lot of people will be looking at that. But I'm not looking at the Bears' records. I'm looking at comparable performances around the league. So 3,000 for a watered-down Russ Wilson with not a lot of weapons, that should be very much doable. Again, our system in the Seattle, at least the current Seattle regime, or not current, but the past Seattle regime, we look at that and we feel that that is a balanced attack. So we're not going to open it up like a Cincinnati, where I would probably have different expectations. But we are going to pass the ball, play action. We are going to, utilize our weapons. So again, I'm looking at 3,300 yards. That's a good, above game manager spot. And again, that is assuming that the run game is as competent as the pass game. If we were in a different situation, probably would have wanted more out of that. As far as touchdowns, well, let me start. Interceptions, under 10. And obviously the number of games played kind of play into this, but you look at a lot of these comparable guys, under 10 interceptions. Rookie years tend to be higher for a lot of quarterbacks, but I'm hoping for under 10 interceptions. I mean, you got 17 games, under 10 interceptions. So you could do the math, because I didn't, but that's a very manageable number where you're not turning the ball over all the time. I didn't think about fumbles. I just think 0 fumbles, to be honest. Not my expectation, but that's just what I think. But under 10 interceptions matters to me. And then touchdowns over 20. Passing, I should say. Total touchdowns, I would say definitely over 30, or between 25 and 30. So 30 touchdowns total, less than 10 interceptions. I think that's a good time for Caleb Williams. So those are kind of the numbers I'm looking at. I'm not hard fast about it. Again, I told you kind of where I based it off of, but that's my kind of expectations of this guy is going to be on trajectory to be a top 10 quarterback. That is what I'm really basing it on. The team wins and the playoffs and all that, honestly, I think is separate, because I think we could do that with Caleb Williams. We saw it. We're Bears fans. We saw Rex Grossman. We saw these quarterbacks. We know that we can win without quarterback being great. But as far as winning and showing me that he is what we thought he would be, those are the kind of numbers that I'm looking at. The Bear Claw, people, I posted a couple times, and it's going to happen. No, that's no longer a question. It's going to happen. But my question is, how do y'all feel about it? And my answer is how I feel about it. I am mixed. I was literally, for my Chicago people, I was literally, where was I? I was like on 100th and, I can't remember. I think it was Indiana. It was one of them. I was on the southeast side, you know what I'm saying, off Halstead, with my friend, celebrating his birthday with the family. And, you know, that's my family too. We all talking. It's a lot of Bears fans. And we were talking about the claw. And you got a lot of mixed opinions. You got people that say, if we win, I'll do whatever. I don't care. You got people that's like, yeah, I'm down with the claw. Some people's like, nah, man, that ain't it. So I don't know, man. I'm really mixed. I mean, the claw just, I personally think, and as I mentioned before, I'm Greek. Actually just passed my 1 year. So with the Greek thing, you know, we do our things in a lot of different ways. You fit it in. And I feel like the claw could be similar. You could fit it in a cool way. But I think just like the regular way that Caleb do it with the growl and all that, it's a little too much. It's a little cartoony. Now the kids will love it, and then they'll grow up to do it, and it's going to start a trend. Like I said, people going to do it. But for me, in my grown age, I'm just like, I'm not sure how fully invested I am into it. But I guess, you know, as I think about it right now, I'm on the side of, yeah, if we start winning, whatever, let's just jump into it. And I don't mean, again, full force with the claw, but just, you know, something on the low ski. I don't really got a picture for you. But like, again, like I'm the bruh, so I throw up the hooks low. Might throw the claw a little low. Might give him a little low claw, you know what I'm saying? A little off to the side claw, something like that. But the claw is coming. And you can't even make fun of it, because you got like you got Toy Story with the claw. You got Liar with Jim Carrey with the claw. But when you really think of it, it comes from the donut, the bear claw. It's a bear claw. It is the bear claw. So, I mean, yeah, it fits in, man. I don't really know what to say, man. I'm curious what y'all think, but I think it's cool to have a thing. I don't know if it's my thing, but I do think it's cool. All right, so let's jump into these questions and we'll wrap this up. First of all, question about the punter. Um, I'll read the full thing. A thesis on why the pick for a generational punter in the fourth round was a savvy decision. I don't know if I got a thesis. I don't know if I call him a generational punter. I haven't watched him a whole lot, but it goes back to what I said prior to the draft. And I had one that vocally, went against me, but once I challenged them, they didn't give me nothing back. Because I said in the preview that we are pretty much set as a roster. And so I did not feel that we had to necessarily sell out to get more picks. Even though the cream of the crop was in the second, third round, I didn't feel like we had to give out more picks. I was pretty consistent. If the blue chip guys was there at 9, you take them. We took Odunze, cool. We got 4 or 5 picks. I didn't feel like we had to sell out to get a lot because I feel like the roster is pretty stacked, and I already talked about that, so I'm not gonna go over it again. So getting a punter in the fourth round is fine with me. I mean, in this draft particularly, yes, the fourth round, you could have had some stuff, but the way it shook out, and then you got a punter that, if you want to call him generational, again, I didn't watch him, but a game changer. And I don't know that I ever consider any punter that way, but if you, let's just say, a top tier punter, whatever, that means a Pro Bowler. I feel like the fourth round is fine with where our roster is. Now, football, much like rugby, the game it comes from, is a game of field position. And so the special teams gets underlooked a lot. And I'll talk a little bit about the kickoff later, but special teams is going to have a much more of an emphasis. But I mean, punting has always been big. People don't think it's exciting. It don't show up in the fantasy stats, but it is very much a big part of the game. And I always say, not always, I should say, it was this last year that I started to say, like, let me look at the first 4-6 possessions of a game. If you just look at game flow, that's going to tell you a lot about how that game went. And part of that is punting and everything. Like, did you punt? Did you kick a field goal? Did you go 3 and out? That's all field position. So if you have a guy where I believe they said we were ranked pretty low last year in punting, not going to act like I tracked it last year because we had other issues, but they said we're ranked pretty low. So if you got a guy that can move you from the bottom 10 to the top 10, if you got a guy that is generational where he can dead the ball in the 10 all the time, absolutely that is a weapon. And Pat McAfee, because of his fame with his personality, has been able to shed a lot of light on special teams, but he was a weapon when he was playing, but obviously it's now bigger because of his show. So as far as us getting a punter in the fourth round, I'm not mad at, to wrap that up. Let's go. Dom Juan asks, how do you feel about Flus? Give your thoughts on the decision from last year. Could he honestly improve on that? Also seems like he'll be a scapegoat if the season isn't good enough. So I'm guessing you meant the decision making on last year. And I talked about this a little bit in the offseason, man. First of all, I don't think 2 seasons is enough to fire. I am very much in the camp of give people time, which is the opposite of the world we live in today with the microwave society and just the way the owners talk and react. I was covering, or at least I was talking about this when it happened. I saw the shift happen because, Black Monday used to be a thing. You used to, end of the season, all right, we're going to make changes. And it just completely changed where people are getting fired, not only before Black Monday, which makes no sense, but they're getting fired in the middle of the season. We got all types of stuff. So the patience isn't there. I'm team patience. So 3 years is bare minimum. 2 years is crazy. But on top of that, you realize that Eberflus was given a roster to tank. I'm trying to figure out how people are praising Poles for building this roster after tanking, but blaming Eberflus for losing. That's what I'm trying to figure out. If you want to make it as simple as it don't matter what we give you, you better win. Okay, fine. I understand your reasoning. I don't agree with it. That's short-sighted. Moving on. But in real life, you pretty much tanked Justin's year and Eberflus' year that first year because you didn't have a competitive roster. But then after that, looking to this previous year, what did he do? So decision making, yes. I mean, the more you look at it, because hindsight's 2020. Everybody's going to dissect stuff Monday morning. But when you look at it, a lot of these coaches are not really good at that management part. And there are some things that I think, we can hold Flus accountable for, Eberflus. But I'm not going to say that he's egregious compared to all the other coaches that I watch. I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like it is just egregious, because you get into situations where it's 50-50. And that's where, again, hindsight is not fair. Because if it don't work, you could easily be like, oh, well, you should have did the other way. But it's a lot of decisions that are close. And I can understand your thought process. That's what it comes down to for me. Whether it's football, regular work situations, anything. Can I understand your thought process, how you arrive to that decision? That's going to give me an indication of how you're going to act in the future. And so I don't think Eberflus had too many things where it was like, that was egregiously terrible. And so I don't feel strongly against him. As far as him being scapegoated, yeah, everybody can be scapegoated. I mean, I talk about that all the time. For new fans, old fans, don't forget, what was it? It was Juan Castillo, the O-line coach. We fired Heathstead from Notre Dame, who's a legendary coach. We bring in Juan Castillo, and I'm like, that don't mean anything. People, oh, look at these numbers, what he did with Buffalo and what he's going to do. He didn't do crap. He didn't change white hair. He didn't change none of these people. He didn't change none of these people. And then you got Mustapher go to the Ravens, had a good stretch. Look how terrible the Bears are. We're idiots. Look at Mustapher. I'm like, bro. So people can never be consistent. They can't be. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's just not how America is wired. People don't think critically. And so we say a lot of things that don't really add up. And so for me, again, the scapegoats are always going to happen. It's pretty much been said outwardly by the media. It's been said by owners. We got to do something so the fans can feel like we're trying. That's all it is. So yeah, Eberflus as a scapegoat is a big, big possibility just because of the way they went after Waldron. Now, I don't put it past them to fire him, but the way they went after Waldron and the way the perception of the NFL is, Casual fans are going to say, fire Eberflus, let Waldron be the head coach. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say that way before fire Waldron. So he doesn't really have a lot of scapegoats under his belt to throw there. Ryan Poles is getting a lot of positive love that Eberflus doesn't get. So yeah, Eberflus is 100% the scapegoat. A lot of people talk about him calling the defense and the defense changing. False narrative. First of all, I knew he was good at coordinating defense. That's the reason he got the job. I don't know why that's a shocker. Secondly, Montez Sweat was a big part of that, but we got healthy. The Montez Sweat effect, as much as I've been saying we need a pass rusher, is a false narrative. The Eberflus taking over is a false narrative. They already told you, what was his name? Alvin Williams, whatever. He wasn't there the whole time. So who you think was running it? Now, Eberflus might have changed some stuff, but Eberflus was involved with the defense the whole time. The big change wasn't Eberflus calling plays. It wasn't Montez Sweat. The big change was we got healthy. People don't realize Edmonds and Edwards were not playing at the same time. And then Eddie Jackson, other injuries we had. Once we got fully on the field, that's when we started to gel. Yes, Montez Sweat is a big deal. Yes, Eberflus got them coordinated. But health was the biggest thing. So I'm not shocked that he was able to coordinate the defense. I'm not killing him for his decision making. We'll see how this year goes, but yeah, he's set up to be the scapegoat. All right, what changes in the NFL in the far near future do I see? It could be position value, scheme, rules, etc. Mr. Marlon Moe. Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one that I probably need even more time to think about. But number one, I didn't get a chance to talk about the kickoff rules. That's about to be huge. It's a 1-year trial, but it's about to be huge. Like, if you're not familiar with it, do not rely on me to make you familiar. Please go look it up, because it is not something that I can tell you. I mean, I can, but you're going to sink in once you see it. The biggest thing is the penalties. So if the kickoff lands in the return zone or whatever, you got to return the ball and it has to be down. That means you can't let it bounce into the end zone. If somebody gets into the end zone, then they can down it. That's a touchdown. They ain't a touchback as far as what I understand. If it bounces out of the back of the end zone, the offense gets a really nice spot, so you can't just boot it. If it goes out of bounds, obviously you get a nice spot. So as the kicking team, you only have a small area where you can kick. You cannot just kick it out and live with the consequences, because the consequences are going to be tough. I forgot which one. I want to say out of the back of the end zone and stuff like that, or if it's short of the kickoff, they get placed at the 40. The 40. You are 10 yards away from half field. That is an extreme advantage. As the returning team, you got to return the ball. You can't let it sit there. So if the kick is within play, you have to return it. And so it's a lot. I mean, obviously we heard Justin Fields talked about as a returner. As I told you in the joint practices, Justin Fields returns punts at the beginning of every practice, just so he could work on getting downhill and accelerating. Not to say that he's a returner. Obviously, he's got that ability, but it ain't a foreign idea for somebody that's watching him return punts every beginning of the practice if he's doing the same things he did in Chicago, they probably saw him and was like, dang, we might put you on kickoff. Because the kickoff returner is a pivotal position now. It is a huge position now. You need guys that can tackle in space. You need guys that can block in space. You need guys that can make people miss in space, because it is about to be a 180. Like, they already talked about the percentages of returns and all that. That's about to flip. That's about to completely flip. They are forcing people to return the ball. So that is going to be a huge thing to watch this year, especially if it doesn't survive. This has to be looked at as a year in which that completely changed the game. So that's a big thing. The quarterbacks, we all know it, but quarterbacks are killing this sport, man, and they got to do something. I talked about this before. It's so many different things. It is so many different things that come from the quarterback that it's crazy, because you just have to take account of their hit on the cap. And so there's a lot of things that happen. You got players, take the Panthers, for example. They take a Xavier Legette, who I really enjoy. I'm hoping the best for him. But they trade up one spot to get him in the first round. Now, why they do that? Because they wanted the extra year of control. If you're a first round pick, we got the 5th year option. So they wanted that extra year of control because of the salary caps and how it times up with Bryce Young. It impacts every decision you make. And so you think about a fun question. I won't even phrase it starting a team, but if you had to pay a player, are you paying Trevor Lawrence or Tua right now? And that's a debate you can have, because you think about a Kyler Murray, a guy that got a deal when everybody felt like he probably didn't earn it yet. But that's the game you got to play. Obviously, Falcons drafting Penix in the quarterback situation. The Broncos drafting Bo Nix. It's so many layers to this quarterback thing that you really have to take into account. And the 49ers being as dominant and as good as they are in a position because of Brock Purdy. But even with that, they're making decisions on Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. So quarterbacks is the top of the conversation. Running back, positional value, all that, we talked about that. But quarterbacks at the top of the conversation in terms of cap. It is ruining, I wouldn't say ruining, but it is impacting the NFL at a large scale. And so we have to figure out what that looks like going forward, if they're going to do something different. Probably, you know what I'm saying, ending up with a quarterback, scale. Not scale, but a quarterback caps. So that has to be addressed. Other things that I find interesting, you look at free agency, the interior O-linemen getting paid. What you're seeing is the linemen are getting paid because quiet is kept. The right tackles got not only money, but draft position. They are creeping up to the left tackle because not only are you getting left-handed throwers, but also you got players that are playing the whole field where you scramble left, you scramble right to extend the play. Now, obviously, a right-handed thrower wants to go to their right. Josh Allen's most dangerous going to his right. That's going to happen. But these quarterbacks got the ability to go either way. And so the idea of the blind side is still important, but it's disappearing more. And now the idea of the edges is disappearing more because we need an entire offensive line. And how people value them is different. And so it'll be interesting. You got the Ravens, for example. both starting guards moved on. They drafted, I forgot who they got. They got one of the good guys from the interior class, but those guys moved on from the number one Russian team. And then you got guys like Carolina who pay big money to two interior people. Robert Hunt, who I love, big money. Obviously, Dotson for the Rams got paid a lot of money to stay after he left Pittsburgh. But either way, the money in the draft position is telling you offensive line is more important. And that is an example of the impact of the quarterback. We need to protect our quarterback. Guard, center, tackle, we need everybody. And so that offensive line is becoming more important, which only makes the defensive line more important, which only pushes the linebackers further to the peripheral. And that's something that we talked about as well. So one thing that I talked about that I was wrong, very wrong about, but I still believe in, is the idea of the red zone quarterback. Now, because of the money, because of the ego, it might not become a thing. But I've always felt, particularly when Jalen Hurts came out, that these guys that are very much used to a spread run type offense and they need to develop into throwers, let them come in special packages. Obviously, Tebow may be the poster child, even though they use him as a full-time quarterback. But to me, a poster child. Use him his rookie year. Let him get some confidence in a package. Let Jalen Hurts get confidence in a package. So on and so forth. So I still feel, just because of the way the college game is making quarterbacks, that's going to become a thing. But we have yet to see it outside of Taysom Hill, so we'll kind of see. So that's it for me in terms of the Bears. Again, I'll be on right after this, so some episodes will be coming. We'll talk about other stuff. But go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. What are your expectations for Caleb Williams? What do you think about the claw? You think it's cool? What do you think about us drafting a punter? Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.